Hi viewers, my name's Cara. I'm your host for Tuesdays on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we are talking about the fifth element, or spirit. This week's topic comes from Elm, and it comes in several parts, so I'm going to break apart the questions one by one and answer them separately. It's all on the same topic, but it's just kind of more elaboration. So the first part of the question is, what is your approach to the fifth element, spirit, Akasha? At first I thought this was worded, how do you approach the fifth element? And I was going to say slowly with caution and carrying a big stick, but it's what is your approach to the fifth element? So basically, how do we approach it? What is our idea of it? And to me, the fifth element, or the fifth point on the pentacle, represents spirit, or Akasha, which is another name for it. And to me, it's just everything together, all of the material elements and everything, even, I guess, even the things that we can't see. It's everything in existence coming together. God and goddess, to me, are representative of it, because I view the god and goddess as being male and female representations of the one, the all, the universal energy, capital U, capital E, as I so much like to put it. And to me, I guess spirit and Akasha is that universal energy, that one big thing that just everything is. None of that really sounded coherent, so I'm going to give you a definition by Raven Grimassi from the Encyclopedia of Wicca and Witchcraft. I have the second edition. He defines Akasha as a term denoting pure spirit, the fifth creative element. It is the subtle spiritual essence that pervades all space. It is not ether itself, but is an ether-like substance of a spiritual rather than material nature. His entry on Akasha goes on a little bit longer to talk about its use in magic and how it was portrayed in old texts, and talks about the Akashic records as well, but that's the basic definition that he gives for Akasha. And that pretty much is what I'm talking about when I say spirit in the sense of that everything, that universal energy that I talk about all the time. I also use the word spirit to talk about like people's spirits, souls, or things like ghosts, but when I talk about spirit, capital S, maybe, I pretty much am talking about Akasha. So my approach is that it is everything, and then the second part of the question is, does it have correspondences to you, like tools, directions, elementals? To me, the only correspondences that come immediately to mind are colors, because I tend to associate purple with spirit. I think it's very spiritual as well as very royal, magical color, and white and black as being both, you know, everything and nothing. And then the rainbow really would portray what it is to me, because I view it as the culmination of everything. A rainbow of, you know, the entire color spectrum would really be a good color correspondence for me. And I actually have a candle that is it's a rainbow spiraled all the way into the candle. So that is like perfect. Directions, like Annie said, when Annie was talking about the directions, I was thinking, oh yeah, for me it's up and down. She mentioned that directions might be up and down or within and without, which I also didn't really think of at the time, but yeah, that is also how I think of it. There are no tools that represent spirit to me specifically, except maybe the pentagram or the pentacle in itself, just as being a symbol of everything coming together. And there are no elementals of spirit for me, because it's not an elemental in the physical sense, but like I said before, God and goddess are representative of the dual aspects of spirit for me. I guess if I had to call it an elemental, the way I picture spirit really is just that ball of light and energy that we always picture with meditations and everything else. I guess if I had to call that an elemental, like some sort of being-like representation, I guess it would be that. But pretty much just, yeah, god and goddess. I don't really think it has elementals necessarily, like gnomes or salamanders or anything like that. Grimassi, going back to the Encyclopedia of Wicca and Witchcraft, his entry on it, Grimassi says it's associated with air, because in the ancient texts that are written about it, it says that it operates through sound or vibration, which would have to do with air, and also there are ancient texts that associate it with the concept of breath of God, which makes sense to me, because spirit is kind of how we think like the world was created, by spirit bringing harmony to chaos, and so the breath of God, the air of that creation, would sort of speak to that idea to me. The next part of the question, how does your understanding of it affect your rituals? And the only thing I can think of to answer this is that it affects my rituals because I acknowledge it in ritual. It becomes a part of ritual because I recognize spirit, so I guess that's how it affects it, is that it is present. I normally refer to spirit in general, and that for me is the direction of up and down. So I go around the circle to the elements, up and down to spirit, and then kind of at the same time I'm addressing God and Goddess because I view them as being the representations of spirit. So, but yeah, I guess it affects my ritual in that it is present. It is a part of my ritual. I talk to it and invite it and invoke it separately, I suppose, as a part of everything. I think it is something that should be a part of my ritual the way I think of it. And then the last part of the question, how does your view of spirit / Akasha affect your views of the elemental points on the pentacle? I've struggled with this idea. To me it says they are balanced, but I don't really accept spirit as an element. I feel / understand / believe spirit, capital S, to be the culmination of the 4 elements, the stuff the physical world is made of. And yes, Elm referred to spirit throughout this entire question, capital S. So, how does your view of capital S, spirit, Akasha, affect your views of the elemental points on the pentacle? Okay, I really liked Annie's discussion of this in her video, so if you didn't watch it, go to the previous video and watch that. I don't view spirit as an element either, like a material element that we think of, but I do view it as an element, as a part of what we do, as a part of magic, as a part of my belief. Because when we talk about elements, we could be talking about earth, air, fire, water. We could also be talking about elements of putting something together, like a heating element or a cooling element. It's the part, it's the piece of the thing, it's the part of the whole puzzle, you know, that has to do with something or other. So I don't view spirit as a physical, like earthly element like earth, air, fire, water, but I view it as an element that we use, like an element of the whole machine. That just reminded me of this computer game that I used to play called The Day the World Broke, where there's actually, the world works, there's this big, like, mechanic system in the middle of the earth that actually has to do with how things operate, and in the world works there are 4 tunnels or ducts. I don't remember how the game described them, but each one of them is an element. There's earth, air, fire, and water. The world has broken because there are these creatures who are sitting in these things, these ducts or portals or whatever, and they're blocking the flow of the elements to the earth. You have to like take this little elevator down into the center of the earth and try to convince these creatures to get out, and you have to go and like do them favors, and you go on missions, and it's like, well, I'll get out if you bring me this, and the person who has that thing needs a favor, so you have to go all down this whole line. And I never got to finish the game because it always broke, ironically. It always just like stopped working on my computer, so I never got to finish it. Anyway, that was kind of a digression, but it goes along with it. Spirit, I guess, would be like the world works, and like the big picture, the big thing that everything else operates under. But then it's also, because the world works is in the center of the world, it's also the base of everything. Like spirit is where everything comes from. Annie said this too. Annie called it beginning and end, but to me it's just like baseline and the top. I'm thinking of it as like the world, like it is, spirit is under the ground, and then things grow from it, and then, you know, rain and dew and things evaporate up into the atmosphere, and spirit's also way up there. As above, so below. I just went on a total tangent from what my notes said. My notes said, I don't view it as an element either, but I do consider it what exists when all 4 earthly / material elements come together, wholly or perfectly or equally. To me, spirit being the 5th point on the pentacle, or pentagram, says that the other 4 elements are balanced in the way that they are each equally important to the way that everything else works, to the way that the universe works. And as Annie also pointed out, with the pentagram or pentacle having the spirit, the 5th point, either upwards or downwards, to me, says that spirit, as the embodiment of that whole, is somewhat held as a, I'm getting a text message, somewhat held as a separate thing, either above all of the rest of the elements, or here we go, either above all of the rest of the elements, or also, if you invert it, it is also what's found within the rest of the elements. And this goes back to Grimassi's definition that it is something that pervades all of space, because really, I think most of the time we view it as, oh, it's above it, it's higher, it's better, because, you know, everything being in harmony is better than being in discord, but it's also, it's in everything at the same time. So that's what it means to me when we make it a part of the pentagram or pentacle, is just that depending on the way that you draw it, either upwards or downwards, a spirit is representative of everything coming together, like you said, what was the word you used? The culmination of the four elements and the stuff that the physical world is made of. It is that, but it's also within and without. I didn't think this video was going to be so, like words like this, but yeah, that's a topic. I kind of really want to go find that game now and play it. Alright, so that's my video for the week, guys. That was really good. So thank you very much, Elm, who did not want to go by their username, asked me to refer to them only as Elm, so I don't actually remember your username, but thank you very much for that topic, and thank you to the rest of you for watching, and I will see you next week. Blessed be.